Today I'm going to demonstrate a concept to you that I call synthetic curvature. And so, first of all, what exactly is synthetic curvature? It is a new method of inducing self-organization in flat, meaning Euclidean environments by leveraging harmonic resonance coupling between agents. This work is part of the newly established resonance geometry framework, or RGF, a next generation paradigm where geometry and resonance are treated as dual dials of cognition. Kind of like, so how exactly do I get here, right? I get here from two places. And then the recent and the experimental place is within studying Euclidean spaces and in Euclidean space versus hyperbolic space and how agents work. I've done a lot of videos on these types of things on my channel, right? And then basically what the bottom line is that Euclidean space is we'll call it a dampener for agent organization. And then what is a amplifier for agent organization is a curvature of space. And then curvature of space is a function of geometry. And then what my hypothesis has been for a long time now, and we've been proving out more and more, is that there's a distinct link between geometry and resonance. And then what we can now prove out is that resonance comes first. Like if it's the chicken or the egg, which one came first? Resonance. So resonance creates geometry. Resonance creates and shapes shape. So shape doesn't come from anywhere, right? Nowhere, like no free lunch, right? Nothing comes from anywhere. So what is the base unit? It's resonance. And then so with that base unit of resonance, it can change the shape and change the curvature in this instance. So what I'm essentially doing in this instance with this whole entire experiment is utilizing resonance in and of itself to take a Euclidean space but add curvature to the Euclidean space, like bend the spoon Neo. That's exactly like what the like concept is within that, right? Like, so how do you bend the spoon? I utilize synthetic curvature in space, and I synthetically curve space. The second part, I guess, I leave this out sometimes, right? But like the philosophical part, how exactly, like, because this is kind of an out there concept, right? Like, what's the very first base level? Like, what's the first grain of sand that leads towards this, right? And then in this instance, the first grain of sand for me is the Egyptian pyramids. And so to me, I am flat out like not a mystical person, right? Like I don't know, I know 0% about mysticism, and then so like I know a lot about science, right? And then so I stay 100% in science. But what I do recognize is that there is this concept called mysticism that exists, and it has existed for, let's call it, thousands of years. Like since the dawn of human history, it has existed. And it's existed in lots of different forms. And in ancient Greece, for example, it was revered along with science, right? Like mysticism and science were coupled together in lots of different schools, not the schools that we teach currently in the modern day with like Aristotle, Plato, Socrates. Like they were the school that were against that, which coincidentally is kind of how our science has developed, right? But there were other schools, competing schools, against like Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates at that time, and they thought very differently and had very different concepts regarding science, mysticism, and astrology, and how all of that shapes, right, and comes together. And then so that has been a continual pattern all throughout history. And it's a pattern. Again, I don't understand the pattern. Like I don't claim to understand the pattern, but I can recognize that there's a pattern there. And then when I look at that and I trace that to let's look at the real world instances and examples, right? I would look towards the Egyptian pyramids, which have like a lot of interesting characteristics about them overall, how they were built, where they were built, the exact geometry of how they're built, a lot of different things, right? It's just a lot of coincidences within them. And then so I start there, and I'm like, okay. And then through my experiments with in hyperbolic spaces and with different geometries, I ended up finding along the way that like a pyramid shape is is the ideal shape to amplify resonance. More like the pyramid shape it amplifies resonance in ways that no other shape does that I tested. I tested like cubes inside cubes, hyperbolic cubes, rectangles, triangles, like anything that you could think of, right? Tetrahedroids, like all different types of shapes and environments and etc. And then hyperbolic pyramids ended up being so a pyramid structure in hyperbolic space, which is curved space with a attached very specifically to a sphere, is the ideal structure. And I've shown it on this channel. I created a neural network that is like self-contained, right? It self-organizing system utilizing just geometry of a pyramid shape as well as a spherical shape in hyperbolic space, and the unit like self-organizes, right? And it self-regulates its own entropy just based off of that geometry. And then so that experiment was about a year ago, and then so I go from there, and then I start playing around. The aspect that I don't understand within that is the resonance aspect. Like the geometry aspect of it clicks immediately to me, just immediately off the bat. And that's I ran with geometry for a long time, right? And then and I put out at this point like a few books, a few theories, etc. on AI geometry overall. And then so I think I have a good understanding now of the geometry aspect. What has been eluding me is the resonance and the harmonics aspect. And then for me, it was eluding for a while because it's just so grounded on the surface level in mysticism, right? And then so you have to dive deeper, and then you start getting into fast Fourier transforms, and then like how waves actually work, wave functions, and dissecting them for me from a pure scientific level. And then I'm able to piece that together and then do a lot of breakthroughs in this instance. So essentially what I'm going to show you in this particular instance is I'm going to create a synthetic curvature field, and I'll show you how emergent topological behavior arises purely from frequency and phase interactions, harmonic coupling matrix, a resonance-driven connectivity model that simulates geometric curvature, and self-organization with spatial curvature demonstrates that intelligence can emerge from signal dynamics alone, even in flat space. And I also give you a baseline. So let's showcase it here, right? And then so very simplistically, I'm just creating agents in an environment, very simplistically, and then their agents are interacting with the environment, and then they're observing, so then we get all of those effects from that. And then we have our synthetic curvature field. So here's the field that gets created, essentially like the curvature of Euclidean space. So cool, I can do it. And then how do I know that I'm doing it? Well, I know from this graph here, right? This is the entropy within my curve space and my resonant space, which is very resonant, as opposed to the baseline space, which is very not. And then I can also look at these two graphs here. And then so I have my entropy standard deviation over time, and then I have my synthetic curvature space versus the baseline Euclidean space. And then you can see one is not like the other. And then I'm able to essentially simulate the curvature of space. It's like just utilizing resonant harmonics, right? So think of it like I blast I take a tuning fork in this digital space, and I hit the tuning fork, and then it and then it goes out, and then that tuning fork creates curvature. And then as long as that frequency is going, I have geometry in the space. So I take it from just hitting the tuning fork and the waves that come out of it and the waves that vibrate off turn into geometry in the space. And then as long as I can do that, and this is a digital space, right? So I can do it forever because then it creates curvature within the space. And then so last thing to go through within this is the paper to go along with it. So synthetic curvature theory, a resonance-based framework for geometry fluid intelligence. Synthetic curvature theory, or SCT, introduces a novel perspective on the emergence of geometric structure and intelligence by treating curvature as a tunable function of harmonic resonance dynamics rather than a fixed property of spatial topology. This paper establishes the foundational principles, mathematical constructs, and emergent implications of SCT, laying the groundwork for geometry fluid AI systems driven by resonance fields. That's the bottom line here that I want to get to you, is that this all ties to, and very beautifully, what I've been talking about for the last few years now, which is like that it's all driven based off of fluid dynamics as opposed to thermodynamics. And the basis of all of this is essentially geometry, like the connection between geometry and fluid dynamics. And so that's essentially what this paper is doing, is that unique connection between, it links geometry to resonance, and then that's the missing connection overall between linking geometry to fluid dynamics overall. And then here it is. And so here are the principles, here are my mathematical constructs within it, here are the emergent properties that emerge. So conclusion, synthetic curvature theory provides a radical new lens to view intelligence, emergence, and geometry. By embracing resonance as the foundation of curvature, we unlock a flexible, dynamic, and deeply tunable architecture for AI systems capable of learning and evolving in geometry-fluid environments. And then and here's again all of the testing here, so feel free to criticize or break down either the mathematics or the actual like the code and the actual like physics within the code here that you're looking at here, and either one of those two would be acceptable arguments. Here is the synthetic curvature theory overall, though, and then the linkage between resonance to geometry to organization to intelligence is kind of like that's the full loop, right? And then here you go. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.